Babysitters of Reddit. What is the creepiest thing a child has ever said to you in the absence of their parents? I was playing with the kid, 2 years old, outside in the snow and it started to get cold, so I picked them up and was carrying them back inside when they pointed at the tree line and asked me, "Who's that?" The house was 5 miles away from any other houses at a pretty secluded spot. There shouldn't be anyone there. I still don't know what's worse, that the kid was playing a creepy joke on me, they were only 2, or that there was genuinely someone in the woods. Both options are equally creepy. If it helps, it might have just been a deer. I may or may not have been the kid who would sleepwalk into my parents' room as a child until I was 18 and stand next to their bed and stand there staring with my eyes wide open. I would only go back to bed after my mom woke up, scream, then tell me to go back to bed. The next morning she would tell me I was being creepy. Occasionally I would say things to her while I was asleep, but I can't remember any of it. Your parents should have put up video cameras and you could have been the star of Paranormal Activity 17. Know me, but my sister, when she about 15, was called by a neighbor to do a babysit. He asked her if she did babysit for older children, and she was fine with it. She is used to do babysit for kids and even older people who need help. She knew him as a neighbor of the guys she was doing babysitting a few times a month, so she thought it was cool. When she arrived, he told her to come in and that he will bring the baby out. After 10 minutes she didn't understand where he went. He came out dressed as a baby and started acting like one. She freaked out and ran back home. Our father called the police. The guy moved out of the neighborhood the next week. My sister is now a lot older and married, and she still freaks out if you mention babysitting. Adult baby, it's a fetish. The guy is a huge creep for trying to involve a minor though. I wasn't babysitting necessarily, but I was spending the night at my brother's place when I was around 15 and woke up in the wee hours of the morning to use the restroom, which was right next to my niece's room. I go in but I don't close the door all the way, and as I'm sitting there, I see something move past the crack. I finish, open the door, and see my 2-year-old niece standing in the hallway, dead-eyed staring me down. She's wearing a white night dress, her hair is all tangled, and her face is ghost white. I'm a little creeped out, but I think maybe she just needs some water or something, so I squeak Lily immediately. Her eyes widen and she starts screaming like a banshee, like blood curling, ear-piercing shrieks. I lost my crap and started yelling for my sister-in-law, who stumbles out of bed and just picks her up like it's nothing, muttering that Lily apparently sleepwalks and does this all the time. They go back to bed and I spend the rest of the night huddled on the couch, waiting for daylight to come. TLDR. My niece was sleepwalking, had a night terror, and I nearly Sparta kicked her into a wall out of fear. Your TLDR made me laugh uncontrollably by myself for 5 minutes. I can picture it so clearly. I had a kid at a after school place I used to work at that had a very troubling home life. He had parents that had an abusive relationship, and the kids often heard their mother referred to as being deviled by their father. He had serious problems with authority and didn't get along well with the other kids. This kid was influenced by the violence at home and told me and the rest of the staff frequently about how he hated his mother and family. He would frequently threaten his siblings and talk about violent things. One day he told us that he wanted to tie his mom up, put tape over her mouth, lock her in a closet, and set her on fire. I am afraid I'll see his name in a newspaper one day in an article about a school shooting. 14-year-old me along with my best friend were paid $20 to watch a 7-year-old girl for the night. Well, her mom didn't tell us her child was insane. She grabbed a butcher knife, chased us with it, then proceeded to open the door and run through the apartment complex screaming she was going to kill everyone and herself. We finally got the knife away from her with the help of a neighbor. We were terrified for her and us. The mom finally showed up, acted like nothing was wrong, gave $15 because she had to leave her date early and had the audacity to tell us to come back the next night to watch her. We ignored her after that. As a parent now, I feel even worse for that child. She must have been put through heck in her short life. I hope she's in a good place now. A kid we were looking after while we looked after a pub in Surrey, England, woke up one night and walked into our room and told us that the people on the other side of the mirror in her room kept asking her if she wanted to play. The pub was quite old and spooky and that freaked us all out. I babysat a little girl quite a few years ago. One day we were sitting down having lunch and she looked at me and asked when her little brother would be able to play. I was very confused as her mother wasn't expecting and she was an only child. A few months later her mom announced she was pregnant. When the gender was revealed a while later, it was a little boy. I was a bit freaked out. Could have been the parents telling the child what they were doing cause she caught them wrestling. I used to babysit a little girl. She was 3 or 4 at the time, and I was reading to her getting her settled in for a nap. She lays down and was tossing and turning, so I asked her if she couldn't get comfortable, and she turns to me and says I'm fine. I just really need to go home, so I ask her what she means, because she's at her house in her own bed, and she repeats that she needs to go home. I asked her where her home was then, and she sits up and stares at me for a few seconds with zero expression on her face, and then she slowly pointed towards the ceiling. I kinda laughed it off, but I mentioned it to her mother and she was really freaked out by it. When the child I was looking after set fire to his bedroom while his brother was asleep in there and laughed as he watched me try to put out the fire that was spreading round the room. He was jealous his dad was out with friends, now dad will have to come home. I was babysitting my little sister, and we were cooking out since it was in the summer and such. She was bouncing on our trampoline, and when I told her she needed to get off and come down to eat, she put her hand on her hip in the sassy pose, made a huge sigh, looked me dead in the eye, and said, "Do you want me to cut you with a knife?" I was like, "Number, and now if you want to eat you have to catch the dog." She spent the next 5 minutes running around our yard trying to catch our new puppy and put him in. Another time I was watching her and my nephew, who was about 7-8 months old. We were playing hide and seek, and being that my nephew couldn't hide on his own, he would always hide seek with my carrying him. This also limited my possibly hiding spots. We were hiding in a walk-in closet in my parents' house, and he was cooing and making a bunch of noises since he was seeing a new interested place. And my sister found us pretty easily. I asked her, "Oh wow, how'd you find us?" expecting her to feel proud and say she heard my nephew. Nope. She looked at me, smiled, and said, "I smelled your fear." I thought you were suggesting that if she wanted to eat she had to catch her own meal. The dog. It wasn't what he said, it was what he did. I was 12, 13ish, babysitting 2 boys, like 5 and 8. I finally got them to bed and was playing around on the internet, Neopets, and my mom called and said they were on their way back from the party with the boys' mom. So, it had been an hour or so since the boys went to bed. I went to check on them thinking it was the adult thing to do. Younger one wasn't asleep but was being quiet and trying, so I went to check on the older one. He was laying there with his eyes open and had the 1,000-yard stare going. I softly asked him what he was doing awake. No answer. No movement. I asked again. Nothing. He was staring straight through me, not blinking or anything. I got creeped out and backed out of his room and frantically called my mom. That's when the boy's mom laughed in the background of the phone and said that he sometimes sleeps with his eyes open. I didn't even know that was a thing. That makes her heart go good. I have one too, said the 4-year-old boy, pulling up his shirt to show me the bulge of a pediatric pacemaker his mother had failed to mention, after I'd found the same thing on his 8-month-old sister and failed to be able to get in touch with the mother. Probably something you should have been made aware of. Dang. Once at a 4th of July party with about 10-12 younger kids, the adults went into the barn to get some more ice alcohol, maybe smoke a joint, and left me and a few of my friends to watch the kids. We had a small bonfire going and we were just basically supposed to make sure nobody fell into it. At one point a couple of them were getting too close to the fire, so I told them to back up a little bit, and one of the older kids, maybe 7 or 8, just looked at me and said, "I'm going to kill the littlest one." I really didn't know what to say to that, so I just let him be. Late at night, 5-year-old kid asks me if I can see the clown in the window. I tell him number, and he says, "Don't worry, you missed him now, but he always comes back." And off to the clown's space he goes. Pretty mild, but my nieces, an 8-year-old and a 9-year-old, heard some noises around the house and jokingly started to say stuff about the ghost in the house, with the youngest saying, "I am not going upstairs on my own. There's someone up there." This point I was just kinda like, "Oh, shut up. Stop being stupid." When I told my mum about it, she calmly told me that weird things had been happening at my sister and her partner house since they moved in. As I said, pretty mild, but what got me was how chill they were about it. If I was their age, I would have got the frick out of there. I babysat for a gym and two of the older kids, about 8, were talking and I heard one say he needed black chalk to summon demons. I immediately told them it wasn't appropriate conversation and asked where he'd heard that. He said from the Illuminati. He also asked me if I could play Anaconda by Nicki Minaj once. I'm thinking his parents don't monitor him on YouTube. I had a neighbor's daughter talking to herself in another room. She was like 3 at the time though, so it's probably normal, but it still scared the crap out of me for the rest of the night. I was going to take Arlena, fake name, on a second date. First date, I had picked her up, took her shopping, helped her unload them, met her kids since they were home. Then we went out for a bit, so I go over to her place to take her to a local concert. She needs to get ready, no problem. Her 3 kids are showing me drawings, telling me who does what. Just a big whirlwind of 3 girls ranging in age from 6 to 11 chatting up a guy they've met once before who's waiting to take their mom out. The mom was upstairs, getting ready like I said. I was sitting on the couch and the middle daughter, 9 or 10 years old, was talking to me while sitting on the other end. The other girls had gone to a friend's house. The remaining daughter went to call upstairs to Arlena. Moom. Faintly. Back down the stairs. Yeah. The little girl looks at me. Something changes on her face. It's a look of power. A smug I could frick you up if I wanted to look. It was a look of someone holding all the cards in a game you didn't know you were playing. Then she said so quietly, so that I would hear but her mother couldn't, while maintaining eye contact with me and smirking, "He hurt me." Then she went on to ask her mom whatever it was that she wanted to know. Arlena answered, and then came downstairs in a few minutes. Before Arlena came down, this suddenly innocent game girl kept talking to me and asking nice normal questions, but would smirk at me every once in a while, like a cat toying with a mouse. I was freaking rocked by this. It was terrifying. To be honest, I don't know what that little girl had been through. I did know that this little girl could ruin my life. I would never hurt a kid, never do anything like that, but accusations stick with someone, even when proven to have not happened. We went on our date, had a kinda fun night, and I was pretty careful to not engage her very much. Dropped her off, drove away, and chalked that up to a bullet dodged. There was no way I was going to talk to her about this. If I brought up that her daughter said I touched her, what parent wouldn't wonder what the frick happened? People don't tend to assume that their kid is making stuff up. To further cement my decision to just never see her again, she kinda gave off crazy vibes. She was a bit trashy, which can be fun, and as we had spent some time together, I found out that she had a lot of drama. I don't think her daughters had the same dads, and there was a lot of other trailer trash type drama that seemed to surround her, so it wasn't like I was missing out on a romantic relationship with someone I was extremely interested in. God, the evil look in that girl's eyes as she threatened me. It was really scary. I don't know what happened to her in life to cause her to do something like that, but I hope that poor girl is okay. I probably would have called the mother down, told her what the daughter said, ended the date right there, and walked out. That way, you've protected yourself and alerted the mother to this horribly frightening behavior. Not said, but I used to chill mind a kid who would grin while rolling his eyes back into his head, leaving only the whites of his eyes showing. His mum would laugh and say that's his funny face, while I pinned myself against the wall in horror with the Omen theme tune playing in my head. I wasn't babysitting, but while out at some store like Target, I had a small child I'd never met tug on my pant leg and say my first name clearly. Looked down to confirm. He was staring right at me. Did not know the mother who was walking with him either. Babysitting a nephew. 4. Playing Connect 4 and listening to some new edgy piano music. And he says, what if someone made a piano from people and the fingers? He meant keys but didn't know what they were called. Stabbed the people so they screamed. Bit in order. That is a specific note. I said that would be a crime and probably wouldn't sound that good. He sighed and said yeah, it would be messy too. You would need a lot of people. At 18 I babysat a 19-year with a traumatic brain injury and his 10-year-old brother. The 19-year-old was actually fun to talk to. He was smarter than his family gave him credit for. They had a super fricked up family. It was the 10-year-old who creeped me out though. One day when I was babysitting, he was showing me all of his stuffed animals. They had all been stabbed. When I asked him why he had murdered a bunch of puppies and superhero plush dolls, he said, "Sometimes I just need to. It makes me feel better." Everyone, including his mother, told me that I was overreacting, but I knew something was wrong with him. He was diagnosed bipolar after I called the police when he pulled a knife on his mother, held it to her throat until the police took it away from him. I honestly believe if I hadn't been there, he may have killed her. I had to stop babysitting him when I was 7 months pregnant because he did not like the idea of my baby. He made me fear for my unborn child, and that was while he was on bipolar meds. I honestly think he may have been schizophrenic. 6-year-old talking about her baby sister. What if you walked into her room and she was just laying there? Me. Awake? I'd pick her up. 6-year-old. No, just laying there with her eyes open but not moving. Me. Like, she's dead? 6-year-old just smiles creepily. I was watching the children of a couple on their wedding night. They had the wedding at a golf club in the countryside and had rented a house down some windy, wooded dirt roads right off the property. Mind you, this is an older, big house, and all around the living room there are old pictures hanging of the original owner's family. I was watching just their 6-month-old for most of the night, and I laid her down to sleep in her crib when they dropped off the 7-year-old BC. He was tired, so him and I are sitting on the couch. He is babbling away about his video games. All of a sudden he looks past my face and goes silent. "Who else is with us?" I froze up but said, "What are you talking about? It's just me and your sister. She's asleep." "Then who just walked into the kitchen?" I just kept saying there's no one here, but the kid actually got up himself to check the kitchen and didn't see anything. So I asked him what the person looked like and he said brown. I chuckled. Brown skin, brown hair, brown coat. A kid I babysat once tried to bite me several times, claiming he wanted to know what my insides tasted like. Later found knives under his bed while we were playing hide and seek. His parents acted as if it was really normal, so I decided it would be a good idea to report the incident to his school. Turns out the kid and his parents were already under investigation after he attacked several students at school and chased his previous babysitter around the house with a knife. He was 6. I was babysitting 4 kids, all under the age of 7, and they asked to watch P. They knew where their mother kept it, in the top of her closet, and when I told them they can't because it's not for children, they told me in graphic detail what happens in P and that their mother always lets them watch it. Even if their mother had paid me for watching them and not disappeared on a drunken bender for 5 days, I'd have never babysat for her again. As it's been pointed out already, there were no P videos in 1977. I was mistaken about that detail. It was a stack of adult magazines in her closet. Call CPS on that crap. I was nannying for my cousin's kids one summer. A very liberal family of organic tree huggers who don't cuss at their kids nor do they abuse them. Their 7-year-old daughter was a very sweet girl, until one day, out of the blue, she hurled an orange at my face and it smacked me dead in the forehead. I was shocked, but not angry. We had a very long day and I knew she had moments of rage, but this was on a whole nother level. I made her sit in timeout, which she absolutely refused to do. So, I sat with her trying to talk to her to calm her down. She began punching and scratching me, so I held her arms to her sides and the little crap actually spit on me. All the kids came to see what all the commotion was about, and she spit at them too, telling me to shut the frick up, you fricking bee. I'm not blah blah blah, I'm Annabelle. Frick your mother, you CW. That's when I decided it'd be best if she were in her room, so I picked her up, placed her in her room. There was no lock on her door, so I held the doorknob. She was screaming and cussing and fighting to open the door, and I truly had a difficult time keeping it pulled shut. She was crazy strong. Here's the kicker. I am from the same hometown of Lorraine Warren, famous demonologist, where the infamous Annabelle doll also resides. This was right before the movie came out and this little girl knew nothing about the Warrens or the doll. It didn't even occur to me that she was using the same name until I saw a trailer for the movie a few months later. A coincidence? Maybe, but it freaked me the frick out. Well, I'd been oping out of that continent pretty quickly. I work in a group home for the mentally handicapped, essentially babysitting adults with special needs. We have around 10 people in our home, but usually I'm assigned the same 3 people every night. I work overnights. HIPAA prevents me from describing the individual, but I can tell you that they have severe mental illnesses in addition to being autistic. Sometimes, they spend all night just screaming gibberish like I want my mommy, where's my mommy, or sometimes stuff like please leave me alone, leave me alone. She was already alone in her bedroom. Basically, she hears voices, and they tell her to do things, like eat her own mom, or literally wear her own poop as clothing. She suffers a lot from it. We get along pretty good, all things considered. They see me every day. I shower them, dress them, do their hair, make their breakfast, everything. I've only been there 6 months, but it feels like I have a genuine friend in her, despite the fact that she's the hardest individual to take care of at that house, due to her behaviors. One night about a month back, she slipped into an episode around 200. She was in her room, sleeping, when suddenly I heard from the kitchen, "No, I don't want to. No, I won't do it," just being screamed over and over. I rushed into her room and tried to talk to her, but her eyes were completely glazed over. It was like she was in an entirely different place. I couldn't reach her at all. This type of stuff is common for her. Sometimes all you can do is wait for her to come out of it on her own. I confess it can be annoying to constantly deal with her explosions. We have 9 other people trying to sleep in the same small house after all. That may sound callous, but you get short-sighted like that after so long in the field. It becomes less about the individuals, and more about your job, if that makes sense. To me, in that moment, it was just a person having an annoying fit, but to her, it was much worse, as you're about to see. So she starts screaming again. "No, I don't want to. Angela, me, is my friend. I don't want to kill her. Go away. I'm here stressing over how this is eating into my downtime." And she's having an existential battle with the voices in her head, fighting for a person she cares about. In that moment, I felt so selfish. I realized how much pain this person who cares about me was in, and I just started bawling my eyes out. Heck, I'm crying again just typing this. So yeah, I don't take my work for granted anymore, and I get genuinely pee when I see anyone in my line of work do it themselves. Sometimes you just need to take a moment to step back and look at the big picture. That was my moment. She eventually came out of it BTW. I made popcorn and we watched her favorite movie together, Finding Dory. Thank you for what you do. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.